The studio of The View was buzzing with its usual energy, a mixture of bustling crew members, flashing lights, and the quiet hum of technical equipment that made live television feel alive. The audience, a lively mix of fans and morning show regulars, chatted excitedly, craning their necks toward the stage in anticipation. Today's guest was none other than Lady Gaga, the multi-talented pop icon, fashion chameleon, and activist whose name alone carried weight, controversy, and admiration. Behind the scenes, stylists fussed over her shimmering black outfit, a bold ensemble with dramatic shoulders and intricate detailing that seemed to catch every studio light and throw it back like a prism. Her makeup team touched up her signature bold eyes and red lips, while her hair glimmered under the studio's bright lamps. Gaga, calm yet focused, paced gently backstage, reviewing her talking points but also bracing herself for the unpredictable nature of live television. Sunny Hostin, known for her sharp questions and no-nonsense approach, stepped toward Gaga with her trademark professional smile. "Lady Gaga, it's incredible to have you here," she began warmly, though her eyes hinted at the probing questions she often delivered. "We're all excited about your new album and your upcoming tour. But let's dive right in. Some people have commented that you're taking on so many projects, music, acting, fashion, advocacy, that you might be spreading yourself too thin. Do you ever worry about that?" Gaga's eyes flicked toward Sunny, a measured calm settling over her features. She lifted her chin slightly, a poised but subtle challenge. "I appreciate your concern, Sunny, but I've never believed in confining creativity to a single lane. Music, fashion, acting, they're all extensions of the same story, the same self-expression. It's not spreading myself thin, it's exploring everything I am capable of creating." The audience leaned in, some nodding, others whispering to neighbors about the tension that seemed to be building. Sunny, sensing a subtle shift in energy, pressed a little further, leaning forward with her hands clasped over her knees. "I understand that perspective, but there are critics who say that by diversifying so much, you risk diluting your brand. Your acting, your fashion lines, even your advocacy could, in theory, overshadow your music. How do you respond to that?" Gaga's lips pressed together briefly before she responded, her voice calm but firm, carrying an edge that cut through the studio air. "I think that's a very narrow way of looking at an artist's journey. My work is not compartmentalized, it's holistic. Each endeavor informs the other. Music fuels fashion, advocacy fuels music, and acting fuels all of it." Suggesting that exploration equals dilution is missing the point entirely. Creativity is about expansion, not limitation. Sunny's expression flickered, a subtle flash of defensiveness crossing her features. "I'm simply raising a question that a lot of viewers are curious about. I don't mean to be critical, I'm asking honestly." Gaga's eyes locked on hers, calm but unwavering, a faint fire in their depths. "There's a difference between asking a question and framing someone's life and work as a problem. You are implying that because I have a wide-ranging career, I'm taking on too much. That's not honest curiosity, that's judgment. And judgment under the guise of questions isn't something I accept lightly." The audience began to murmur, the atmosphere thickening as tension mounted. Even the crew behind the cameras paused briefly, sensing the intensity of the exchange. Lorraine Kelly, seated just a few feet away, offered a polite, encouraging smile, but there was a tension in her jaw, an unspoken acknowledgement that this was no ordinary interview. Sunny leaned back slightly, trying to regain the upper hand. "Lady Gaga, I think it's fair for viewers to ask how someone manages such a multifaceted career. People want to understand the balance, not undermine your accomplishments." Gaga's voice sharpened subtly, though it remained controlled, a laser of composure. "I understand curiosity, but the way the question was framed suggested that my ambition is reckless or that my creativity is somehow dangerous to my own career. That's not curiosity, that's a judgment disguised as concern. I've faced countless critiques in my life, yet I continue to create boldly. I will not allow anyone, even on this stage, to reduce my work to a critique of overreaching ambition." The audience reacted instantly, some clapping lightly, others murmuring in agreement. The room had shifted from casual entertainment to the kind of charged tension that only comes when someone is speaking truthfully and unapologetically. Sunny's eyes narrowed slightly as she tried to maintain control, attempting a diplomatic pivot. "I hear you, Gaga. And I respect that, but this is live television, and it's our job to ask questions people are thinking about." Gaga leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but resolute, commanding attention without raising volume. "And I respect your job, Sunny, truly. But there's a line between curiosity and condescension. I am here to discuss my music, my work, my artistry, not to have my career path dissected as if I were a cautionary tale. That is where respect comes in. Respect for the journey, for the choices, and for the creative risks that define an artist's life. The murmurs of the audience grew louder, a ripple of applause building at the edges, signaling where public sentiment was landing. The tension between Gaga and Sunny had transformed into a teachable moment, a live demonstration of standing firm without losing composure. Sunny's smile, once tight and confident, flickered under the scrutiny of the audience and the precision of Gaga's words. Lorraine attempted to interject, her voice carefully measured. Lady Gaga, we celebrate everything you've achieved. Your work is inspiring. And Sunny is asking questions from a place of curiosity and concern. Gaga's gaze shifted briefly toward Lorraine, nodding politely, but her eyes returned to Sunny, unwavering. I understand the intent, Lorraine. But intention doesn't erase impact. And the impact of reducing a decades-long career to a question of whether I'm doing too much is not flattering, it's dismissive. I am proud of every part of my career, every risk I've taken. I will answer questions about my work, my music, my advocacy, but not at the expense of my dignity or my creative choices. The cameras returned from commercial break, and the atmosphere in the studio felt taut with anticipation. Lady Gaga sat poised in her chair, her black sequined outfit shimmering under the bright stage lights, her gaze steady, her posture composed but commanding. The audience buzzed with energy, whispers and excited murmurs passing through the rows like a current of electricity. Even the crew, normally invisible to viewers, had paused their tasks for a brief moment, watching as the tension from earlier still lingered in the air. Sunny Hostin leaned forward slightly in her chair, attempting to regain the rhythm of the interview, her smile carefully neutral, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of caution. Let's shift gears a little, Sunny began, her voice measured and calm. Lady Gaga, your fashion choices, your advocacy, your acting, they've all garnered massive attention. How do you balance all these aspects with your music career? How do you make sure one doesn't overshadow the other? Gaga's expression didn't change, but there was a subtle shift in her posture, a slight lean forward, a sharpening of her gaze, a readiness in her stance. Her voice, smooth and controlled, but layered with intensity, filled the studio. Sunny, the concept of balance is based on the wrong assumption that these things exist in separate compartments. My music informs my fashion, my advocacy informs my music, my acting informs my art as a whole. They are all interconnected, they are all part of the same creative identity. Suggesting that I need to balance them as if they compete diminishes the truth of the work. The audience reacted audibly, some leaning forward in their seats, some whispering to neighbors. The energy had shifted from a casual celebrity interview to something more compelling, more charged with meaning. Sunny, recognizing the firmness in Gaga's tone, attempted to regain control, her voice still polite but carrying an edge of defensiveness. I'm asking from the perspective of viewers who want to understand the pressures of a multifaceted career. It's not a critique, it's curiosity. Gaga's eyes met Sunny's, unflinching and unwavering. There's a difference between curiosity and judgment. Framing my career as too much implies that ambition, creativity, and exploration are problems to be managed. That's not curiosity, that's an attempt to undermine confidence in one's own work. I am proud of every choice I have made, every risk I've taken, every unconventional step I've pursued. That is not reckless, it's intentional. And intentionality should be respected. The audience reacted with a swell of murmurs and applause. The energy in the studio became palpable. It was as if Gaga's words had lifted a veil, showing the crowd that even the most celebrated figures could stand their ground without raising their voice, without resorting to theatrics, simply with clarity, composure, and undeniable presence. Crew members exchanged glances, impressed by the calm authority radiating from her. Lorraine Kelly sat nearby, her expression carefully neutral, the polished host smile in place, though her eyes flickered with acknowledgement. Sunny paused, choosing her words carefully. I think what you're saying is valid, Gaga. But don't you worry about the audience perception. The public often has a very fixed idea of who an artist should be. Don't you fear criticism or misunderstanding? Gaga's smile was subtle but sharp, a knowing tilt of her lips. Criticism and misunderstanding are part of life, Sunny. But when people reduce a decades-long career to a question of overextending, that's not legitimate critique, that's dismissal. I do not fear criticism because I know my intentions and my capabilities. I do not allow others' narrow perspectives to define the scope of my work. If the audience misunderstands, that is their learning curve, not my limitation.